Hello YouTube, I'm making this video in response to a video that I saw. There was a commenter that replied there. His name was called the Jones Family. I'm doing this video solely for you about ball python, how I keep them, and basically the setup that I have and what's been working for me. So the first thing you can see is there's like the substrate. And this is like a mulch type of substrate. Now I bought this at a Reptile Expo. The guy was selling it like a 30-pound bag for like 15 bucks, and he gave me a deal on two of them, two for 25, so it was hard to refuse. Now I like this better than coconut husk and coconut fibers because I was using that previously, but I found that it dries out way too quickly, and I found myself watering it several times a day, and that can be annoying and hard to keep up the humidity. So if you notice, there's two sections of my terrarium. This is the warm side and this is the cool side. Now the cool side is very dark. I'm going to explain how I did that in a second. Now the warm side, if you look down, you can see that there's a heat mat underneath it. This is a regulated heat mat. I know that the section where the heat mat is touching the glass, it gets around 110 degrees. But if you can look at the digital thermometer that I have there, it's reading at about 91.4. Now, how I accomplished that was basically by adding in enough substrate to where the prong is telling me that it's between 90 and 95 degrees, because that's the ideal temperature for a ball python. Now the hide itself, I don't know if you could see, but on the sides there's enough substrate to basically go over the end of the hide, and then it gets like high in one section and low in one section. Now this part I like because it has the hole. I can see if they're in there, and when I said there, I am keeping two ball pythons. One's a female, one's a male. The female is a super pastel, the male is a regular pastel. I do plan on separating them in the future. For right now, they seem to be getting along fine. I'm probably going to get a lot of shit for that in the future if anybody else sees this video, because they say that you shouldn't keep them together, but for now they seem to be doing just fine. Like I said, I do plan on separating them because I don't want them breeding. I don't plan on breeding them at the moment. So I'm just going to go around the tank and show you what I have. So if you look at the other side, it's very dark. Now the substrate goes all the way around to the very top of the hide. And that I did that basically for aesthetics, and also like to simulate, I guess, what it would be like for a termite mound, something underground. So it's like, if they go on top, they could feel that there's a hole at the bottom, and that's where they go to hide. And so you can see on the warm section, it's reading 91.4, which is ideal. It's perfect for what they need. There's a big water bowl in the middle. Now the water bowl, I bought it at Dollar Tree for like $1. I didn't want to get anything too fancy or too big, but this seems to be working fine. Now for the heat lamp that I have, it is a 150 watt max heating light fixture, and I have a 100 watt bulb in there. And then for the warm side, you can see I have just a regular gauge thermometer. It's reading at 80 degrees. For the hydrometer, it's reading at 45. But I don't really pay attention to the hydrometer because it's up really high. And if you look right here at the bottom, you can see there's precipitation. And this basically means that it shows that the substrate is nice and moist. So this in itself is going to give enough humidity for what they need. Now I do plan on buying some digital thermometers at the end of the week, and I'm going to put them in on both sides, and I'm going to put them in lower in the terrarium, so that way I can get a better measurement on the humidity. So if you want to know how I acquired like the perfect humidity and the overall heat and cool section, if you look at the top of my terrarium, you'll notice that one side is completely blacked out. Don't mind the feeding tongs. Today is feeding day. Now, how I acquired that was I took some extra strength Scotch tape, and I applied it over the top of the screen on both sides, underneath and on the bottom. I don't know if you could see like the little bit that's on the other side. Now I did that because before I did it, all the humidity would just come right out of the tank, and it was very hard to keep up with the humidity. So after I did that, I found that I was able to keep the humidity better because it's only escaping from one side, which is the warm side. And yeah, man, that's pretty much it. This is what seems to be working for me. Haven't had a problem with stuck sheds. I haven't had a problem with regurgitations because snakes, they need heat to digest their food properly. And if they don't get enough heat, what happens is they don't digest properly and they get sick and they regurgitate their food. So now, speaking of food, if you notice on the heat lamp here, I have 2 fuzzies. They're in a bag, applied to the heat lamp. Now, what this is doing is this is thawing the mat for me. I don't like thawing them out in a bag in water. Now, what I think this does is I think it provides, like, it keeps in the smell of the mice. And instantly, like, when I take them out, man, they just go for it, bro. Like, they don't even think about it. They just go for it. And I haven't had a problem with them refusing meals. And I've been using that method for about 8 weeks now, and it seems to be working great. So I'm actually going to open the lid and show you my 2 snakes that I have. My 2 ball pythons, my male pastel and my female super pastel. Now, the male, I named him Mr. Noodle, and the female, I named her Nagini. Well, my wife named her Nagini. So now, as you can see, they're always cuddled up, dude. Even when I separate them, they always cuddled up. Now, their tails aren't locked, as you can see, but they're always like this. You see? So the one over here, this is Nagini. She is a super pastel ball python. And then over here, I have my pastel male ball python. His name is Mr. Noodle. They're very small. And yeah, man, they don't seem to be fighting over resources. Even when I feed them, when I take them out and I handle them and I just let them skirm around on my bed or on the floor or wherever I decide to put them, they always seem to look for each other and want to be together all the time. I'll make a video on that to prove that. A lot of people probably won't believe me, but I swear I can't make it up. They're too young to mate right now, but it seems like they comfort each other. Now, like I said before, I do plan on separating them when they get older because I don't want them breeding, at least not at the moment. So I'm going to put them back, and I'll make a second video on feeding my ball pythons, and hopefully you'll appreciate that. Some people might not, but at the end of the day, they're animals. That's what they eat, and they have to eat to survive, and these are our pets, and we like keeping them, so we got to do what we got to do. All right, man, take it easy.